Hello, I'm Simon.
And I'm Dan.
And this is a special episode of the Wikicast, a podcast about random Wikipedia articles. Today, we are joined by a guest.
Hey everyone, my name is Patrick. I run the YouTube channel TierZoo, which is a channel that explains evolution through the lens of gaming.
And what article are we talking about this week, Patrick?
So I've got one. It's Miocene, the geologic epoch of the Neogene period.
Okay, so right, this is very appropriate considering that you did randomize this. You didn't pick this beforehand. This was a random article, and I mean it seems right up your alley.
Yeah. Right off the bat, I'm seeing that it's one of the first times that you're seeing like recognizable modern animals.
How long ago was it?
Oh yeah, so it looks like between 5 and 23 million years ago. Right.
So is that part of the Quaternary epoch? So it's after the Mesozoic. It's got
to be. Oh no, actually, it says it's Neogene. The Quaternary is it looks like that's after. I think
Okay, so this is post dinosaurs, pre humans, basically. So this is when all the really weird giant mammals are starting to crop up, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah, I think so. Let's look. I think there's a. Oh yeah, perfect. There's a life section, and then it's flora and fauna. So let's look at the fauna section. Okay, so we've got ducks show up here now. Okay, cool. Oh. Owls, cockatoos, and crows. That's fun. Love them. Okay. The first hominins, bipedal apes.
So like apes. Cool.
Not humans, but like human-like creatures.
Yeah, because the current great ape species that we know, like the recognizable apes today, only like kind of came into being a couple of million years ago. So I'm guessing this is pre-lemurs, pre-orangutans and gorillas and things like that. This is the really early ones before they all sort of branched off.
Yeah, that's what I would guess. Let's see which hominins is it talking about? Maybe it is the newer ones. Well, it says they were just appearing in in Africa at the end of the Miocene. Okay, so this is late Miocene. So that'd be like 5 million years ago. Actually, that might be humans. I mean, humans are, I think,
certainly
a few million years ago.
Australopithecus was one of the
early
African plain-dwelling ones.
Earlier. Oh no, it says here. It says the chimpanzee-human divergence is thought to have occurred at this time. Okay, so the ancestor of chimpanzees and humans.
So is that what defines the end? What defines the beginning and end of the era then? Because presumably there's an event that.
Yeah, good question. Let's look for that.
It might the first existence of a hominid. Is that like a sufficiently important thing to merit like?
Let's see. It says the Miocene boundaries are not marked by a single distinct global event, but consist rather of regionally defined boundaries between the warmer Oligocene and the cooler Pliocene epoch.
Okay, so it's a climate thing rather than a biology thing.
Yeah, that's what it seems like, yeah.
Okay, so before we delve pretty deep in already. I mean, your background is biology, isn't it? So you do TierZoo, which is you actually contacted us because you listened to the podcast and said, "Oh, thanks for the shout out," and I had no idea that you listened at all.
Oh, okay. So here's what happened, right? I googled TierZoo just to see like if anything new pops up, because every so often you'll find something interesting. And I saw Wikicast, and I guess you guys like mentioned TierZoo, and I listened to that episode, and that was good. Okay. And I'm like, hey, I could, if they're talking about me, might as well say hello, say thanks, and give it a listen.
You're one of my favorite channels. I mean, we have full disclosure. We're part of sort of the same network, so we talk to each other every now and again in like a big group chat with all these other creators. But you genuinely are one of my you're one of those channels that as soon as they upload, you have to check it out. Like Bill Wirtz is one of those, and like.
Oh yeah, Bill Wirtz.
There's a few channels.
I really appreciate that. Thanks, man.
Well, it's true. You make good stuff, and we'll get on to how you make it, I'm sure, because we had a conversation recently about how you do the videos, which blew my mind. But yeah, so how did you? You're a biologist by training. Did you go to uni and study biology?
Yeah, so my background is in microbiology specifically, but of course to learn microbiology you have to learn evolutionary bio and just zoology in general, of course. But yeah, my degree is in microbiome. I went to the University of Madison, Wisconsin.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah, that's where Red Letter Media's from, isn't it? They're from Wisconsin.
Yeah, Red Letter Media. Yeah, there's a few YouTubers. Yeah, Red Letter Media is one of the big ones. Video Game Donkey, I believe, is also from. I think he might even be from Madison. I've never met him, but I know he's nearby somewhere. Gus Johnson, I think he now moved out to California, I believe, but he was from somewhere in Wisconsin. I think near Eau Claire. Yeah.
I'll be honest, I always thought of Wisconsin as being like kind of the arse end of America. Like it's just sort of the north bit where nothing happens, but apparently it's a hotbed for YouTubers.
I always saw it as the place that Nickelodeon shows would make fun of. Like if you ever watched like Drake and Josh or like iCarly growing up, it would be like they would always roast Wisconsin. Like someone always had some weird relative from Wisconsin that they would take pot shots and roasts at. So I was always the butt of the joke when I was watching TV shows. I was like, why?
What did I do?
I didn't deserve this.
So that's the biology side of things. And then obviously with TierZoo, it's part biology, part gaming, and you're not even the only gaming YouTuber from up there. So I mean, what got you into gaming? Like, why did you choose to do a channel that's kind of biology plus gaming?
Right. So, I mean, I do love gaming. I've always been a gamer. I grew up playing RuneScape most of all.
Awesome.
And then recently, well, I guess I also played a ton of Smash Bros. Growing up. But I only recently, like when I started going to college, I only at that point started getting into like the competitive sort of mindset in Super Smash Bros. Where you have to like really study out the different aspects of each character and each stage and learn all the different advanced techniques. And that was like a really interesting thing to me because there's so much information and so much little quirks and tidbits that you should know if you're trying to be a good player. And so like the mindset, the analytical mindset to approach a video game just was so fascinating to me. Like you could really write a dissertation on like frame data of Super Smash Bros. Melee. There's plenty of information out there. People have done science on video games, like studying out, okay, which moves can link into other moves because of their frame data, and study it out and practice it.
So
that's just so fascinating.
So is it just Melee that's in the competitive scene there? Does each Smash Brothers game have its own scene, or is Melee the only one?
Melee is the biggest one, but there's also a sizable one that plays the newest one, which right now is Smash 4, but will definitely transition over to Smash Ultimate, which is the new one that was announced for the Switch for this winter. I'm super hyped for that. I can't wait.
It does look good.
Yeah.
Simon and I have been saying that we've been, when we lived in the same place, it was a toss-up between getting a PlayStation 4 and a Switch, just purely, and I think because the Switch was so new, the games were so kind of limited at that time. But some of them are coming out now, like Breath of the Wild has been the other one that I've always seen people play and been like, oh god, that looks cool.
So you didn't go with the Switch. Oh, that's disappointing.
No. Yeah, I know.
I have a PS4 as well, and there's definitely some excellent exclusives on there. I highly recommend Bloodborne. That's my favorite one.
Yeah. That's the kind of Dark Souls Mark II kind of.
Yes, it's definitely a spiritual successor to Dark Souls.
Absolutely.
And it's probably my favorite exclusive. But there's, I think God of War is another really good one.
I finished a couple of weeks ago. Finished a full. Who was it?
Jesse Cox.
It was Jesse Cox. The online sensation that is Jesse Cox. He did a playthrough with The Completionist. And they played that on its like highest setting and went right the way through. And that game, the story is just amazing. I forget how many awards it's won, but it's just like it's
all of them.
It's not every it's just been ridiculous.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't expecting it to be so story driven. It's very good.
It's funny you should say about Dark Souls. So I was talking to somebody, we'll get onto this in a bit, I'm sure. I was talking to somebody about how we've been playing Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. We have our gaming channel, Spongy and Electric, and somebody described it as Dark Souls with a mountain, which is like the most accurate thing I think I've ever heard. It's so brutal.
God of War is Dark Souls with a mountain. Yeah, it's not the worst comparison.
Because yeah, we played. God, we were actually playing for quite a while, weren't we, Dan? I was been editing it down into like a few episodes, but it is crushing, absolutely crushing that game.
We were playing a while, especially given that I think it was a solid maybe 45 minutes before you were like, oh yeah, you should probably play, rather than just sit there watching.
It's so addicting. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I just remember I was having flashbacks, being like, God, he's still going. He's still there. It was weirdly addicting though. It's that kind of almost like sadistic sense of, oh, I can't, no, just a bit more, and you know that it's just you're going to get more and more frustrated. But it was a lot of fun.
Have you played World of Warcraft, Patrick?
No, I was always into RuneScape, and then I was kind of a competitor to World of Warcraft. I tried to get into it at one point, but back when I was a kid, World of Warcraft was 3 times as expensive as RuneScape. So I'm like, well,
yeah, it was pretty pricey.
Yeah, exactly. The choice was clear to me. So that, yeah, I know it's got a new expansion
next week
today or next week. Okay,
so something I don't know.
It's very soon. I think it may well be. It's either today or tomorrow. Battle for Azeroth. Nice. Very exciting.
Yeah, I won't see you for a while, Dan. I'm guessing you're just going to drop off the face of the earth.
No, I'm not. I'm absolutely not going to get back into it, because with that coming out and me going into my final year at uni, that's a dangerous combination. However, I messaged you the other day. I messaged Simon the other day with an idea that we had for
which
Spongy and Electric,
which I'd be fully willing to do if it means ruining your degree. Then that's a price I'm willing to pay. Frankly.
I mean, given that it's going to be a trial thing, I should be able to limit myself just to these recording sessions, which would only take a couple of hours. But yeah, it's very. I've already read the book while I was at Simon's a couple of weeks ago in Cambridge for some rehearsals. The new novel in the series, because I read all the books along too, because I'm a massive lore fiend. That came out, and I absolutely devoured that in the course of like a couple of days, and that was amazing. And that's done nothing but increase my hype for this expansion.
I mean,
it looks incredible. So.
Patrick, please tell me that Smash Bros doesn't have lore. Like, does it have extended lore associated with it?
Not really. No, okay, I mean there was one in the Wii version of the game. There was something called Subspace Emissary, which was kind of like a story mode game.
There's meant to be a story mode in the new one, isn't there?
I hope so. They haven't announced it, but there's a lot of speculation that seems to indicate that there probably will be. They mentioned in one of the directs, they mentioned like a boss at some point, and no one knows why.
Right.
Because there's no boss mode in the Wii U one. So we were like, oh, okay, what does that mean? Is there a boss? That means there's probably like levels and a story and things like that. Yeah, exactly. So that's what we're hoping.
Okay.
But time will tell.
Okay, so going back to sort of the thing that people are going to know you for, apart if you're not on the Smash Bros like competitive scene, people are going to know you from TierZoo, basically. And like, so I mean, as a YouTuber, like I'm just curious personally, is like how did that come about? How did you start the channel? Like, what was there a particular moment where like you just had like a light bulb go on, or was it a gradual thing?
There was a moment. I was browsing Reddit, and there's a subreddit called r/outside.
Yes,
and I saw that, and I noticed that it's a huge subreddit. It has like 300,000 subscribers, I think. But the newest, or like the top posts on the subreddit were all like a few days old. And I'm like, okay, so like this is a huge subreddit with not a lot of content. Maybe I could fill that niche, and that's what I did. I posted a video, and it immediately hit the top spot and got like tens of thousands of views in the first 24 hours. I'm like, okay, I guess I have something here.
This is what I'm doing now.
Yeah, this is my life now.
Wow, because it did seem like you kind of came out of nowhere. Like from the very first video you did, it was seemingly a success overnight.
Yeah, it's definitely like I've had YouTube channels in the past and kind of tried to do the grind of just upload consistently, and but none of them ever like went anywhere. But I saw that, I'm like, oh, okay, this I guess I finally have it here. If I play my cards right, I might actually be able to grow this into something worth.
What had you done before then? What channels had you done before?
Oh god, we don't talk about those. I did
those kind of channels. Okay.
I had one when I was like a teenager, and I would just upload like really bad videos of just me and my friends goofing off. I did make one that was about RuneScape, and I tried to do like animations, but I'm not a good animator, so those didn't go anywhere either. Um, I made one for Magic the Gathering and tried to like do animations and tried to make Magic the Gathering look like Yu-Gi-Oh! With like the like life points and them summoning monsters and then having them like appear in real life and fight each other.
Yeah.
But again,
Was
not
this stuff that you
the
picked
greatest.
because you just went on a random subreddit and saw that there was like a gap? Was TierZoo the successful trial? Like all the other ones, you've
I
just
think
hit
those other
random
ones
on
were
Reddit
more
every time.
so like, I mean, yes, Magic the Gathering has a subreddit and RuneScape has a subreddit, and I thought, okay, there's a potential audience there. But most of those subreddits are much more active and more focused on things actually relevant to the game, not just some chump YouTuber trying to get his videos out there.
Yeah.
So
that
those
also
didn't go
explains
anywhere.
how from the first video, you clearly knew what you were doing in terms of editing, and like it wasn't like somebody's first video. That
Yeah, exactly. I do have a fair bit of experience with editing. I took a lot of classes in high school for editing.
To have such a clear aesthetic idea as well of the kind of like the style of the
yeah,
videos.
I do think it's evolved to some extent. Like if you watch the first video, it doesn't have any of the like effects that make it look like a game. Like it still has the terminology, right? Where I talk about things as though like a tier list and builds and stuff like that. But it doesn't have like the RuneScape health bars and hit splats or like the Overwatch you eliminated this player little thing when two animals are like fighting. And I think that was probably like the most important step I took in terms of crafting the aesthetic, and it's absent in the first episode or two. But yeah, I tried my best to hit the ground running with TierZoo, because my old channels, they had like terrible audio, terrible editing. Well, not terrible editing, but terrible animation at least. And so if I could just like get it right on the first try and hit the ground running, I feel like that helps a lot with trying to launch a channel.
Yeah, because I think people have this misconception that like when people have a channel that really explodes overnight, it's it was this person's first video, that they don't see all the work that went into the projects before then. Like nobody just makes their first video and then oops, it goes viral. Or like I can't think of a single person off the top of my head who's had that. Like even
exactly.
Overnight success takes a long time was a quote that I remember reading once, and like it's so true when it comes to YouTube.
Yeah, that's 100% true, no doubt about it.
But the thing that got me, so what we were talking about last week or something, was what software do you use to make your videos? Because I couldn't believe this.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, I mean, I edit in Adobe Premiere, but I make all of the graphics, like the stat graphs and stuff like that. I make that in PowerPoint because it's just so easy to save like templates and stuff.
Amazing.
It's like it's so like
that's super.
It's the digital like YouTube version of a guy working from his shed. Like no professional tools or anything. But like it just works. If it works, it's not stupid,
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And that's what I have the most experience using. Like for those other channels I was talking about before, like I would draw in PowerPoint using like PowerPoint auto shapes and manipulate those and kind of make like growing up, did you ever make like a flip book cartoon kind of thing?
Yeah,
like you take a pack of sticky notes and draw on one and flip it and draw another one. You can do the same thing in PowerPoint, except instead of having to redraw everything, you just copy paste. So I did that a lot growing up just for my own entertainment. I would like animate things using PowerPoint. So I know like every little intricacy of PowerPoint just from doing that.
So you're going to stick with that, even though presumably now you know how, like you can edit you can like animate in Premiere or like After Effects, which presumably you have access to now. But presumably you're going to stick with PowerPoint because if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things that I do now in After Effects and Premiere, but for the most part, like when it comes to making the graphics itself, I don't see a reason to switch unless they need to be animated. Like now for some of my my stat bars that have like the power, defense, stealth, HP and everything, now they're animated. And so I took the design that I had made in PowerPoint and I kind of ported it over to
does it go across as like individual shapes then that you can manipulate, or it's not just one static image?
It's more that I had to like remake it in After Effects, but I like had the design already made from PowerPoint.
Okay, sorry. We're just getting into YouTubers ask each other technical questions because
Yeah.
sorry, you do your videos how?
Yeah. How do you make your videos?
Well, I for one, I think you need. We need more PowerPoint. Just in general, I think that's
PowerPoint corner.
I'm gobsmacked.
If we can find any other YouTubers, if you're listening to this, dear reader, and you're a YouTuber who uses PowerPoint to make your videos, I want to know about it because this is perhaps we've just discovered a whole niche of YouTube that's powered by PowerPoint. I somehow suspect that you're one of very few people, Patrick, but I'm willing to be proved wrong. But I mean, because we got talking about that because you were talking about. You asked me how I did something in one of my videos when I was using After Effects. It was the Jetstream animation that I did.
Yeah, that was really cool.
It was the jankiest thing, and I was lying in bed like 2 or 3 days after the video went out, and I was like, "Oh my god, you fucking idiot! There's such an easier way to do that." Like, I nearly wanted to get up then and redo it just to prove that I could do it so much easier because, like, I hand keyframed all of these things, and there was like, there was literally no point in me doing so. There was such an easy way for me to fix it. But you live, you learn, I guess. You make these mistakes.
Did you do it the second time?
No, well, the next time
Absolutely.
I do a video like that, because I will need to do animations like that in future, it's just like, I was trying to be clever and have, because you can map a flat surface onto a sphere in After Effects with a plugin. And basically, I wanted to have the Earth with like a temperature gradient over it, and then I have the jet stream animated over the top of it as like another layer. But the problem is After Effects pretends it's a sphere. It doesn't actually represent it as a 3D object like in the computer. So stuff doesn't clip behind the way it should. It's just like a flat image. And so I like manually keyframed out the bits of the jet stream that were supposed to be on the other side of the planet. And what I could have done is just put the jet stream animation, which was on a flat surface, on the same composition as the temperature gradient, and it would have been mapped to the sphere.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because what I wanted was the jet stream to stick slightly above, and it was like it had a radius of a sphere that was like ever so slightly bigger, so it looked like it was floating above the surface. You can't tell in the video, and I just spent like 2 hours.
Oh, okay. That's my next question: is how long did that take you to do that? Okay, 2 hours.
2 hours is probably a bit generous. It was probably about an hour, but like it was time that I didn't have to spend.
Yeah, that's still a chunk for sure.
And the more you use it, the faster you get. Well, so that does actually lead me on. So this will be of interest to Dan. Do you watch the Wikicast, Patrick, at all?
No, I've definitely heard the name a lot. I have quite a few friends that love Wikicast.
So that they, I mean, I don't know where they stand in terms of like the rankings of YouTube gaming channels, but to me, they're like one of the big, really big kind of conglomerates. So, you know, like quite popular. But I filmed there 2 days ago. It was on. Actually, I won't date the episode. I filmed there a couple of days ago, and I was talking to one of their editors whilst he was making a thumbnail, and he was doing stuff that was like super technical stuff in Photoshop, exactly the same kind of thing that I do when I'm making my videos. But he was just like talking to me at the same time whilst doing it about 5 times faster than anything that I could ever do. And he was just, because it's just practice. He was like, yeah, it's absolute bullshit, this thumbnail. Like, I don't know why he's asking me for this. Whilst he's like cutting out with a fine Bezier, like this figure from the foreground, and just doing it so quickly without even seemingly paying any attention. Like, wow. That's the level I want to get to with making videos. It's just there, like, it's almost like how in an anime someone's cans move like a blur. Like, you know, when they're super skilled. That's what I want to look like when I'm using editing software.
Right. Yeah, wow. That's just experience, I guess.
I was bad-mouthing what he was doing, which was my favourite part about it. Like, he wasn't even really paying attention. They're a super cool bunch of guys. I was really lucky to be able to film with them, actually. We were doing this video, which hopefully will be out in probably about 2 weeks after this episode comes out, about flying mythical creatures. So,
that sounds really fun.
Like the biology of like how dragons' wings compare to bat wings, and something like how a griffin compares to an eagle, for example. And I did a bit of statistical analysis, like extrapolating from certain species of bird and like looking at the area of the wing compared to the mass of the bird, and then trying to extrapolate that up to the size of a griffin, kind of thing. And it was a really, really fun project, actually. I'm really looking forward to it coming out. It's one of those videos that you hope is going to do really well because you just had so much fun making it that you want to make more. Like I'm guessing you have that quite a bit with your channel. Like, do you have videos where you're just like, please let this one do well because I want to delve down into this?
Exactly. I mean, most of it is like the topic is something I'm really interested in. Like like a lot of the prehistory ones. Like I did one about the Permian extinction, and I did one about the Carboniferous era with its super high oxygen levels and giant insects. And I just think that stuff is really fascinating. So I hope other people do too.
Like you've not done any microbiology topics, have you?
No, I was just gonna say it kind of sucks because there's a lot of stuff I'm interested in that I know people won't be interested in, just because it would be so esoteric and no one will know what I'm talking about or know what they're even looking at. Because like if I were to do an episode with like bacteria, I would love to. That's my specialty. That's what I know the most about and what I'm most passionate about. But if I were to like show a clip of a bacteria lysing another bacteria, like people would not be able to tell. The untrained eye would not know what they're looking at. Like it took me a while to even be able to see things through a microscope and recognize them. So to expect the general YouTube audience to do that, like that, no, it's not going to happen. People are going to click away and be like, oh, okay, boring.
Do you have like that part of your brain though that's like, if I do it really well though, like if I make it really, really well, like I'll make them interested.
I would love to, and I hope to get there at some point. I've written scripts about specific bacteria and shared them on my Discord server to my like diehard fans. And they all agreed, like, yeah, I get what you're going for, but like it doesn't seem that interesting. I think you should stick to animals. I'm like, yeah, fair point. I get you.
It's like how I'd love to do a video about the science of or the planets of Warhammer 40,000, but I know that video would do unless I do it super, super well. That video would never do well. Right. I can hope.
Or if it was branded with Warhammer and you had some more gut, like a helping hand with actually specifically shoving that in the face of the target audience rather than just being like, oh, this is a thing.
Yeah,
it's really nerdy, but there you go.
That's why because one of the guys that I did the video with about the flying beasts actually there's two people. There's Mark Turpin, who's the CEO of the Oxcast, and he's been doing a World of Warcraft podcast for like 10 years or something like that. So like
I think longer actually.
Yeah, he did actually tell me, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's played Warhammer for WoW for like the majority of his life. And so he's got like a huge community of people where like, oh, this guy, I did this video about flying stuff in World of Warcraft. It's like, that's hopefully like a guaranteed chunk of views. And that's like then an audience that gets ported over and you're just like, yes, I can do more about this kind of thing. Because like, I'd love to do a series about, the science of video games and like, the thermodynamics of fireballs or RNGs and like, what does it mean for a number to be random and that kind of thing. And like, I don't know.
I think it's a really good idea. And to some extent, I think the channel Game Theory does a lot of that, where it kind of nitpicks with like, oh, does this make any sense? How this character does this or whatever? But
yeah. But like, I don't know. It's like, well, this is the dream, Dan, is that we can do videos about World of Warcraft, and
oh man, don't even start. I'm already starting to sweat with excitement. I cannot wait. It's going to be great though, I think, because I mean, certainly I haven't played in a while, but also to do what I want this to be, in terms like the idea I had for this kind of series of maybe like 3 videos or something. It's tying in stuff that readers of the podcast are already aware of, in that it's going to be directly referencing some amazing fan fiction that's been written, but also it's going back to basics for the game, which is something that I don't. I've played since vanilla and gone right the way through, so I'm always looking. It's always kind of end game content. So changes that were made for a new player, I didn't necessarily get a great deal of.
Yeah.
So to do it for me, it's going to be like, oh yeah, I remember this, and oh, maybe I have done this before, but it's changed slightly. But then you're completely new, so it should be a good balance of, well, I very much know what we should be doing and kind of guiding through. But yeah, I just had this. I was sitting in the library, procrastinating because I've been sitting in there for like 4 hours revising. I was like, oh, I'm just going to chill out for like half an hour and go get a coffee. And on my walk from like the bowels of X University Library to Pret and back, I was like, oh, maybe this is oh yeah, hang on. And then I opened up a Word document and started typing away all these ideas. And then I messaged you being like, hey, so
part 1,
we need to do this.
Introduction.
yeah. I've got your script already written. Here you go. It's a couple of pages, but you'll be fine. You know, it was it should be really
I
fun.
like the idea though. It was like, well, I suppose exactly what you do, Patrick, is like referring to stuff as like, oh, that's end game content, so it doesn't really affect new users. It's like referring to like, it's like when stuff changes in science. It's like that's end game science content. The new users in science don't really get those kind of patch updates. It's like, it's very rare. Like I think the last time that the game had a complete overhaul was like Newtonian physics, when everything kind of got upheaved in like the 18th century. That was the last kind of update that really affected new users.
Definitely.
So you kind of have like a skill tree for scientists. Like I've definitely engaged, like I've invested heavily in the anxiety and imposter syndrome perks. Like is that a thing?
You've specialized.
I really have. Like I took a quiz that was like how bad is your imposter syndrome the other day, and I got like 80%, and it was like borderline extreme imposter syndrome, and I was like, yeah, but it's worse than that. Like because I don't think I really should have even been taking this test. I don't think I'm enough of a scientist to merit taking this test.
I'm going to chuck a peg in there. I did a quiz today, encouraged by Ed Dunn, who readers of the podcast will know. Apparently, he dropped into the Discord the other day, and they were doing these quizzes, and he recommended me to do the BDSM test, and it's terrifying, is what it is.
Like, what's the purpose of it? What's the kind of results can you get?
So there's two kind of tests you can do, and I was told to do the thorough one, and it gives you a percentage breakdown of all the various categories of BDSM and to what extent you are that category. So, as an example, I'm a 26% masochist,
right?
74% vanilla.
That doesn't surprise
comes as no surprise to anybody at all. But 99% rigor.
What does that even mean in a sexual context?
Someone who likes tying people up.
But it's rigor, as in like rigorous derivation.
As in like rigging on a ship.
Oh, rigging. I've never heard it called sexual rigging.
This thing though, talk about I would say there's maybe 26 to 30, I can't count them that quickly, but different types, and you get a specific percentage on each one, and it's mad. I was told to do it, and I have, and it was an interesting experience, because you read some questions and you just go, I don't think you're allowed to ask that to people anymore. That's not allowed. You really can't do this. There was like one of them I specifically remember. It was on like page 2, and it says, "Do you like being used as a urinal?" It's like answers on like a scale of like 1 to 10, 10 being strongly agree, 1 being strongly disagree. I was like,
I like having a cake in me, but I don't like being used as a urinal.
Oh my!
Yeah, there we go.
So amazing. Put that like a 2 then, huh, Simon?
Yeah, that'd be a 2. Caking, yes.
Maybe.
Peeing, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Never say never. But yeah, it was terrifying.
Wow. I actually took a personality test recently too. It was I was watching this YouTube video by a YouTuber named Braincraft. She did this video, like it was debunking personality tests, specifically like the Myers-Briggs one. And at the end she's like, this is the most scientifically backed personality test. And it was like I think it was one about the Big Five.
Is it Myers-Briggs? Is that one?
It's not the Myers-Briggs one. That's like the INFJ kind of thing. And her video was about like critiquing that, because I guess people's answers change on that, so it's not really scientifically backed if people's answers aren't consistent, right? Because the key to any good study is replicability, right? So if you can't do that, it's not really worth much. But she recommended this other one that is about the Big Five personality traits, which are, can I get this right? I think it's extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism, and there's 2 other ones. Let me look this up.
I mean, this sounds highly scientific off the bat.
Yeah. Okay. So extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, and openness to experience. And it was an interesting personality test. Nothing too crazy. They didn't ask me if I like it if anyone pees on me. That's for sure.
Different kind of test.
That's my new benchmark.
Yeah, safe to say.
But it was interesting. The results that I got back were all like very average for all of the personality traits, except I was high on extroversion and I was like extraordinarily low on neuroticism, I guess, which means like I don't really respond to stress. Like I don't get stressed out, which kind of makes sense, I guess, to me. But it seemed like a really good breakdown. They broke down all the 5 big traits into even more and more increments and discussed it. Like, oh, okay, for neuroticism, like how prideful are you and how angry do you get, that kind of thing.
What was the name of this test? Because we'll put it in the show notes for people to try themselves.
The Big Five.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I think I've done this one before. I've definitely done Myers-Briggs. I had to do that when it was in like the starting week of my IB course. They encouraged you to take it because they were like, oh, you know, find out more about your personality and then it may assist with study technique and stuff. I've definitely heard the Big Five personality test being mentioned before, but maybe this is one I haven't done.
Okay. Well, yeah, Big Five I think is the one.
Yeah.
I've done the Myers-Briggs one too. That's I think I got. Actually, you know, I've taken it more than once, and like the video was telling me, my answers did change.
Yeah, that one always did seem
in the
very
introvert.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of one of the ones that kind of tells you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Like, oh, these are all the things. Like, oh, if you're an introvert, oh, you're so like introspective and thoughtful, and if you're an extrovert, it's like, oh, just look at you, aren't you just the life of the party, that kind of thing.
It's a bit like a horoscope.
Really,
those
yeah,
seem like
exactly.
horoscopes. It's just you've no matter what description you get, it's just like I do have 2 legs. Like
exactly.
Every now and again there'll be a person who reads that like, well, that's awkward. Like I lost this bad boy in an arm, kind of thing. But like, you know, they're so generic as statements go.
Yeah, they're like universally applicable.
I have also just realised, by the way, just to backtrack a second, the joke that I made about cake earlier, for female listeners, that's like, I may have to explain that.
Flew way across the head there.
Just like, urinals have these like centred things that claim them called, and they're referred to as cakes. Then if you go into a men's bathroom, they don't actually have like chocolate cake in the middle of a urinal. That's just to be absolutely clear about that. I just had this vision of someone listening and being like, "What the is he talking about?"
Good cover, Simon. Don't tell them about the free cakes we all have.
Just got to cover all the bases and not let them in on the secret cake society.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. You almost blew our cover, Simon.
What would you do if you just went into a public bathroom and there was? And imagine it would be worse if instead of urinals, it was one of those like trenches, and like what would it be? Like a Swiss roll that's just the entire length of the trough instead. You're just like,
there's so many names for these. I found the Wikipedia article for urinal deodorizer blocks.
Is that?
And
urinal
it's
deodorizer
amazing.
blocks. Excellent.
Yeah, and there's also called urinal cakes, para blocks, urinal mints, urinal pucks, urinal peons, urinal biscuits. Yeah, which is quite good. Urinal cookies, hockey pucks, toilet lollies, and urinal donuts.
A toilet lolly. That sounds like British slang for a penis. I'm not gonna lie.
No, it depends on the toilet you go into, I guess. But
yeah, well.
Yeah.
Wow, I'd never realised there were so many names. A peon is probably my favourite though. That's very good.
Yeah.
Right. Wow, look at that. But yeah, I'm looking at this Wikipedia article now too. I guess they've changed, their composition has changed. They used to be made of naphthalene and para-dichlorobenzene, which are carcinogens. So they changed those.
They used to be made out of asbestos, before that as well. So just
yeah. Now I guess they're made out of. Let's see. Can I find what they're made out of now? Quaternary ammonium compounds.
That doesn't sound good either.
No.
I know. Yeah. Okay. So let's click on quaternary ammonium compound and see what that is.
I'm on that as well now.
Also known as quartz. Yeah. Amazing.
Oh, scientists and their names.
This isn't a part of Wikipedia I thought I would ever be on. I'm not going to lie.
At the very end of this appearance and composition, there's just a single sentence that says auto flush and or ice are sometimes used as alternatives. So what they're saying there is like, yeah, sometimes we just flush it though.
Yes.
Brilliant. Thanks so much.
Or use
like
ice.
Optimal play.
Like, I've never been into a bathroom that's had ice in the urinal. Like, because the first thing you're going to do is try and pee straight through that block of ice. Like, it's like how if you're ever privileged enough to go and pee somewhere where there's snow, you obviously write your name in the snow. Like that's just human instinct for men anyway. Well, I don't know. Wow. I don't know if women do. Is that a thing that girls do? if they're very, very good at like crab walking.
No idea.
You seem very confident that you're not the only man who does this as well.
Oh, come on. Put everyone who's listening to the podcast, put your hand up in public right now if you've ever written your name in the snow whilst peeing. Because I'm pretty sure that's basically
That's super
everyone.
difficult. I can't imagine trying to do that. That'd be really hard.
You've got quite a long name, I suppose. Like, if you if you have a name like Tom, or actually Simon's all right,
that's
it's
fair.
middling length. But like Dan, he could be fine. You could probably go over it twice.
Sure,
and bold.
yeah. 3 letters versus 7.
I actually do mine in cursive script. It's beautiful.
Oh, there you go.
Daniel, and there's like a big swish underneath it.
Well, that'd be easier because then you have to like stop and go, because that'd be painful. You don't want that.
Yeah, true.
Block capitals D. Okay, right. Like take a step to the right.
Yeah, hand me that water. I need to keep going.
Okay, we've descended way further than we normally do. I feel like we might have to take a skip over to Critics Corner to save what's left of our modesty.
Absolutely.
Okay, so truth be told, readers, it hasn't been that long since we recorded the previous episode because I'm currently, as you listen to this, I'm in a field in Cornwall on helping out with a scout camp. So
It's very quiet.
it is. Presumably, I don't know. I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
And
Oh, you're in a. I see. Yeah.
And so I haven't really had a chance to watch anything since the last episode, in which I kind of spurged about my Netflix viewing habits. Dan, have you had a chance to watch anything?
I have. Controversial.
Oh, here we go.
So, what was the show that you recommended?
I recommended The Good Place. Episode. Patrick, have you watched it?
I haven't. Sorry.
Well, I mean, you're not missing out on anything, Patrick.
Oh,
Ooh.
Yeah, I watched the first episode and was like, this is shit. It's awful. It was absolutely, I was just like, oh my God, it's just kind of like inane kind of, I'm going to watch I'm going to watch at least until like episode 3 because I want to give it a chance. I'm not going to judge it on its first episode. Yeah, but I watched the first one and was, after about 15 minutes, I was like, yeah, this really is grating now. I'm really not into this at all. Which is such a shame because when you pitched it to me last week, I was like, this sounds really cool. This sounds like right up my Strasser. But I mean, I wasn't a fan.
Do you think I described it inaccurately, or do you just think that it's the way that they've done it isn't to your taste?
I think you oversold it.
Okay.
I think you didn't play upon. Well, actually, you likened it to Community.
Yeah.
And in a way, it is like that.
And it's like aesthetic.
But I think
is really what I meant by that.
Yeah, it's absolutely. So I took that to imply kind of not necessarily vibe, but the feeling that you have when you're watching Community. And the Community works, because I think there's a larger core character cast, or certainly from what I've seen at the moment. That will naturally change when you get more characters introduced. But I was watching and I was just a bit like, oh, it's really annoying. They're really annoying, which is weird because the female star is in Parks and Recreation, and she's great.
Oh, Kristen Bell.
Yes.
Yeah, who plays Princess Anna in Frozen.
Oh, she's in. I mean, she's like briefly in. She's not like a main character in Parks and Rec, though, right?
No, but like she's from that rival kind of town, isn't she?
Yeah, Eagleton, right? Okay, yeah.
Eagleton, yeah. So I've seen her, and I found her funny as a presence on screen. So I recognized her and was like, oh yeah, cool, this is cool. But I don't know. I was watching and just got really annoyed really quickly. As I say, I will stick it out and go until like episode 3.
I will definitely,
and hopefully my opinion will change.
I would definitely concede that it is like it's probably an acquired taste. Like the style of it is quite unique, and it is. It's a bit of a Marmite show, I guess. You either really like it or you really don't. I know Pixel Girl really liked it from what I showed her, and like critically, I just looked it up. It's 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I think it's probably in vogue. Like it's probably kind of trending as a style at the moment. But I can see that it's not for everyone. But I really liked it. You should watch it, Patrick. By the way, it's really. I think it's really good.
All right.
And so do 91% of critics. Just saying. But what's your
Rotten Tomatoes? Come on, mate.
I mean, it's the critical response. The consensus is Kristen Bell and Ted Danson knock it out the park with supremely entertaining, charming performances in this absurd, clever, and whimsical portrayal of the afterlife, and it has a 78 out of 100 score on Metacritic from 32 critics.
Knock it out of the park. I mean, come on.
You've only watched one episode. Pipe down.
I wouldn't go that far.
Watch more episodes and then we'll talk.
I will, yeah. Come the next time of recording, I'm sure I will have watched at least until episode 3. But yeah, so far not really for me. A friend of mine was watching Chef's Table.
Oh,
however,
yeah. I've
after being like, I heard you mentioned it in the podcast, and it was specifically that. I think it's the 4th season they're on now, possibly the 3rd. But it's all devoted to chefs whose focus is like dessert.
Yes, I've seen the thing on Netflix, the little thumbnail.
Yeah, she was watching the episode on the cereal milk woman. I spoke about her.
Oh yeah, the tea, cereal tea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She did a cereal milk. Oh, for God's sake.
Siri, f*** off. It's been.
I said cereal milk, and she got excited. But hey Siri, why are you interrupting me? All right, settle down.
Settle down there. I've got to be careful when I get a Google Home because I'm going to get another one for The Office, I'm pretty sure, because I've been using the one downstairs. I use it all the time. I've got to be careful if I have one in here because I will definitely just set it off randomly.
Yeah. See, I'm not too bad because I'll before I'm recording or if I'm somewhere where I don't want Siri to go nuts, I'll put it into lower power mode and it turns off the Hey Siri function. You can still use it, but she won't actively listen out for the command. But.
What about you, Patrick? What's your taste in TV like? What are some of your favourite shows?
So what I've been watching recently is Better Call Saul.
Oh, I haven't seen any of that. I've wanted to.
It's super good. I would honestly put it on the same quality as Breaking Bad. Very different story, but the same genius directing and storytelling elements that Breaking Bad has. So it's been great. I'm on season 3, and
there are 3 seasons already. I swear it only launched recently. Oh my god!
No, it's been out for a while.
It's a pretty new show. Relative to Breaking Bad, I guess. But it's honest, I think it's actually about to go into its 4th. So I'm happy to be getting to it and not have to wait super long once I finish my binge. But yeah, it's really good. I had an experience recently that's is similar to yours, Dan. A friend recommended me a show on Netflix, and I was like, "This not only is this not good, I don't even get how you like this." My friend is married man, hardcore Christian, recommends me this show. I'm like, "Oh, okay, so this is gonna be some chill, I don't know, not offensive show at all." And he recommended me a show called Santa Clarita Diet, which is a show about a woman who turns into a zombie. And it's it's not crazy offensive, but it's got plenty of sexual stuff and cussing. I'm like, I would have not guessed that my friend would be that this would be my friend's favorite show. But all of that aside, I was like, dang, this is a really immature show.
Well, I'm just reading the plot synopsis on Wikipedia is Joel and Sheila Hammond are everyday suburban real estate agents in Santa Clarita, California. Yep. The couple face a series of obstacles when Sheila has a physical transformation into a zombie and starts craving human flesh.
Right, exactly. So now
that's a fairly serious. Fairly serious problem.
The show devolves into this woman figuring out which people she can eat and get away with, and her tortured husband trying to stay sane through all this.
Wow, that's quite niche.
That's very
It is. It's super niche, and it's an interesting concept. I certainly gave it a chance. I think I watched 3 or 4 episodes, and it definitely got better. So there are shows that definitely get better after the first few episodes. One of my favorite shows of all time, The Office, certainly a great example of that. The first episode of The Office is a snooze fest. Mm-hmm. And to some extent, the first season of Parks and Rec even is at times.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I'm really determined to watch the American version of The Office because I go back and watch the UK one very regularly just because. I remember it was a thing that we'd watch as a family, or when my brothers had gone to bed and I was allowed to stay up a bit later, we'd all watch it because it's not exactly the kind of thing you watch with your kids because it's just so depressing and But I've watched some kind of compilations of the American Office with Steve Carell, and it actually does look quite good. So I'd like to.
What I've seen of it, because it's a darling show on Imgur and Reddit, and I've watched I think a couple of episodes, and from what I've seen, I've liked it, but I've not had that urge to go back and sort of binge it properly to get the full story. But I might have to give it a go.
Like it doesn't use the same dry humor that the UK version does. A lot of it is a lot more slapstick kind of thing. But I certainly enjoyed it, and I actually had a hard time with the UK Office. That's another one where I gave it a chance and it was funny, but I don't know. It just the humor didn't resonate with me as much as the American one did.
It's
Maybe
too dry.
I'm American.
I got it's so dry as humor goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the kind of humor that I think is kind of ingrained in kind of the British culture. You know, like I think when trying to show it to people who aren't used to it, kind of experiencing that idea of, you know, it's similarly with to an extent like the Python stuff and Faulty Towers, and it's just this it's like it's awkward and cringy, and that's kind of what we are, you know.
Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. I just remembered, actually, there are two really massive things that I have watched, not just the really disappointing Netflix recommendation from Simon, but
so far
I'll stand by it. To be honest, I'm going through it now. I'm going to watch the other three, and whether I like them or not, I'm going to still say it's crap. But I watched back to back. I watched 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and The Shape of Water.
Oh, that must have been an interesting experience.
Okay, how was that?
It was really interesting. So I managed to. There was a deal on iTunes where you could rent the two for 48 hours, and I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I'd like to watch those. I've been meaning to watch them because, you know, I just never got around to seeing them while they were in the cinema. 3 Billboards was superb, absolutely deserving of kind of, you know, all the awards and accolades that it received. In terms of kind of enjoyment more, I enjoyed The Shape of Water more, just because it was such an interesting kind of, it's very, you know, like you watch it and you're like, this is clearly Guillermo del Toro. But the kind of style of storytelling feels different to what he's done before. The soundtrack is absolutely beautiful. It's also a love story. So naturally, I think, me being the soppy, hopeless romantic that I am, I'm going to be slightly more predisposed to liking that one than you know, 3 Billboards. But it was beautiful. The kind of the visual spectacle was incredible. The way they made this creature, this monster, become almost like your Hugh Grant character. You know, like the one understanding creature in this world of, you know, it was really interesting and great world building, and yeah, I would highly recommend both of them, especially Shape of Water.
On the subject of romanticism, though, this is a PSA for, I presume it's definitely for UK Netflix. It might be for other places. Loving Vincent is now available on Netflix, which was the film that was
the
animated.
The hand-drawn one.
Every frame is painted in the style of a Van Gogh painting, which I still haven't watched, but it went straight on my list as soon as I saw it was available, because I'm...
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like an extraordinary amount of work.
Yeah, it was like 180 artists or something. I mean, and even if you look at like the trailer, it's so unique. You know how it's just totally unlike any other film that I've ever seen before, and it's So I'm that's an announcement to everybody. You should watch this purely because the number of hours that went into painting every single frame is kind of extraordinary. But yeah, because they've added a bunch of new stuff recently. It was today I went through and added a few things, including I didn't have Annihilation in my list, which I've been told by everybody to watch, but. Yeah, I think that was...
So, I was just looking at the Loving Vincent, just as a brief aside. It took them 6 years.
Oof.
Yeah. Wow. It's just incredible. And apparently they had, there were about 5,000 applicants to help with kind of, like, you know, the painting, and a total of 65,000 frames were painted. But since artists painted multiple frames from the same shot, only 1,000 kind of survived. Yeah, it looks amazing. I've been meaning to watch that, actually. I didn't realize it was onto Netflix though, so that's super exciting.
Yeah. Because I'm going off on holiday in a couple of weeks as well with a bunch of friends for just properly unplug, and so I am probably just going to take a tablet loaded with as many things from Netflix as it will take, along with a massive pile of books, and just Just try and avoid going on the internet for 2 weeks if at all possible.
Nice, that's a good call. Where are you going?
Somewhere in it's like sort of south to central France. I can't remember the name of it, and even if I could, I probably couldn't pronounce it. But it's a friend's parents have got like a villa there with a pool, and it's just a group of friends from school. We're going to drive down and basically sit around the pool and drink, and probably playing Dungeons and Dragons for like 2 weeks.
Oh man, that sounds like heaven.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be really good.
Dream.
Yeah, the last time, because we've done this once before, and we went to the Remy Martin distillery where they make cognac. And it was a really, really interesting tour that we did, because it's like, it's a vineyard like anywhere else where they make wine. They have loads of places where they grow vines and then they ferment it. But because it's a fortified wine, it goes through lots and lots of cycles, and the barrels stay there for decades in some cases. And there's this massive warehouse full of these oak barrels, I think it was oak anyway, full of cognac. And the air is so saturated with alcohol that the spider webs aren't linear. The spider webs are completely chaotic because the spiders are drunk off their tits. And they let them stay there because obviously they eat pests and everything. But you look around and there's spiders webs that just go in every direction.
That's hilarious.
That's amazing.
Oh my goodness. I saw a picture one time. It was like spiders on different drugs.
Yes, there was a paper, wasn't there? They tested them on like different substances.
Yeah, exactly. The scientists who did that, like,
they got
good job
funding.
to them.
They got funding to do that kind of thing.
That's a genius proposal. Like, I'm jealous that I didn't get to be on that team, because that must have been such a fun experiment to do.
Yeah. Sometimes you read these papers and you're just there like, who approved this? But I mean, I'm really glad they did. But
right.
Somebody read for the applications and went, you know what? Yes, we are gonna fund a study into exactly how far a penguin can poop. Like, the world needs to know. They're going to send a team of people on the SS David Attenborough down to Antarctica.
Incidentally, if you don't take the opportunity to buy SPF factor 20 sun cream, and instead of over the SPF in a Sharpie marker, write D in front of it, so you can be asking for the D20 each time. If you don't do that, I'll be really disappointed in you.
That's good. I like that. Well, it was fun. I should have actually asked Mark Humes, who was the other guy I interviewed at the Uxcast. He's been a professional DM for a very long time. I mean, he's been playing Dungeons and Dragons for about 15 years. I should have asked him for some advice. I completely forgot. Oh well, but he was awesome actually. We were working out how dragons would fly, based on, because basically you can characterize how things fly based on the loading of the wing, so how much mass per unit area of the wing it has to lift, and then also the aspect ratio of the wings. And we were there with this giant model of an ancient red dragon that he had, trying to work out the aspect ratio of its wings with like a tape measure, and approximating the wing area and looking up how much it was supposed to weigh in the monster manual. And it was really, really fun, actually. Just like probably the dorkiest thing I've done in a very long time. But I won't ruin what our conclusions were. But it was actually
darn it.
He said that it's going to change. He genuinely said that's going to change how I DM in the future, how I describe how dragons fly, which is pretty cool. So sorry, we've just got on to reviewing random crap at this point rather than stuff we've been watching. But we haven't had that long to talk about to watch anything new. I mean, is there anything you've been doing recently, Patrick, that you think's worthy of critiquing?
So one thing that I've been kind of getting back into is watching the old episodes of Teen Titans, the DC Comics superhero show.
Because there's the new one coming
out. They just had the movie for Teen Titan, the kids cartoon version, and then now I think they're bringing back the old episodes, I guess, or they're doing a new season of that's a continuation of the old show, which is really interesting.
Right.
So yeah, that's one thing that I've been getting back into, because I was a huge Teen Titans fanatic when I was like 10. Loved the show. Beast Boy was my favorite, of course, because he could turn into any animal, and I was super into animals. So I'm like, he has all the abilities that every single animal does. He would be too overpowered in the game. But yeah, that's one thing that I've been getting back into.
Oh, cool. Well, I mean, shall we just to keep things moving then? Shall we pop along? I think what is it next? I think it's time to thank our Patreons, isn't it, Dan?
I believe it is. Yeah.
Top lad.
And it's that time again for us to thank our patrons.
I just said that. You're just stealing my lines.
Oh, have you already done this?
No, but I finished off the last segment. Never mind. I finished off the last segment saying where we're going. It's like, oh, we're going to go off to Germany. Jingle plays. Oh, we're in Germany. Kind of thing. Okay, never mind. As you were.
I think you should do it, mate.
No,
you seem to have a pretty good idea of what you want this segment to be.
Right.
No, it's fine.
Don't
no, you do what you want.
in front of Patrick.
Somebody do it. You're killing me.
After you, Dan.
Sure, let's go. And it's time to thank our patrons. This is the section of the podcast
we've already done this bit.
You're supporting.
That's what I was saying.
Have you done? So you've said top lads. You've said
we haven't said that.
all the different ways to support
patrons.
So you haven't done this bit.
I did the bit that you just said. Fine. I'm just going to step away. Right. I'm moving away. You do you, mate.
Oh, God. Yeah, man. It's just such aggression. I don't get it.
Is he normally so?
I don't know. I don't think he hasn't had a lie down today.
All right.
He's irritable. He needs burping. He's gassy. Right, here we go.
That is always true.
Here we go. With feeling and emotion as is deserved for our fantastic readers. Thank you so much for those who decide to support us on Patreon. Some of you do it through our top lad tier. Some of us do it through supporting Team Cat and Team Dog, which we'll touch on those results later. But the top lads, your names are going to be read out now. We're going to do it slightly different this week. So you're going to have a custom character and race in kind of nerdy style as possible assigned to you. So without further ado, Kyle Much.
I'm feeling like sort of a orc paladin. Kyle's a very noble name, but Much feels like kind of a brawl kind of type. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it.
Next up, we've got Isabel Ostrowski.
I think that's got to be some kind of wizard.
Yeah, definitely some sort of sorcerer.
Sorcerer. So let's go. I'm going to go with an elf sorcerer.
Ooh. Nice.
We have Ben Dent. He's got to be a warrior or something with a big club.
Pendant.
Well, Dent it makes me think of like Harvey Dent, right? Like a hero turned villain.
Oh,
yeah, true.
So like a tiefling or something like that. If you want, that'd be villain turned hero, I suppose. Next up, we've got Connor Levers.
Connor, that's an Irish name, right? You could be like a leprechaun bard.
Yeah, the first thing I thought of was like a gnome engineer of some kind.
Yeah.
Then we got Patrick coming with the national stereotypes, just like it could be an engineer, or alternatively the pipes.
Don't
okay,
tell
so
Brian.
this next one's going to be really easy. The name is Rory Healy.
Oh,
Heal.
So Rory, he's got to be like some sort of race that can transform into dinosaurs.
So he's going to be like a worgen.
Be a monk or a cleric or something, right?
If it was World of Warcraft, he'd be a worgen, which is basically like a werewolf.
Lizard folk a D&D thing? I think there might be a like human lizard type thing.
Is there anything that's not a D&D thing? Like D&D has to have everything at this point.
I mean, but it basically invented everything. So
yeah.
Oh well, if that one was easy, this next one's not going to be. The next name for you to come up with a class for is Marat Vakira Punyawat.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dragonborn.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah,
because the last name sounds like a dragon shout.
Vakira Punyawat!
Yeah, there you go. Full surrender. Our next name is Fee Gascoigne.
Oh, Gascoigne? Oh, that's in...
Yeah.
There's a character in Bloodborne named Gascoigne.
Yes, there is.
So, let's go with... What would be in Bloodborne? Like a vampire?
Like a hunter?
Yeah,
some kind of like,
or
a pyromancer?
Or a beast, or... exactly.
We've got another profession lined up already with Henry Brewster.
Okay,
he's going to be like a Pandaren.
Yeah, a Pandaren,
monk.
I
didn't think of that. That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. He can specify specific... You can actually, in the Pandaren monk class tree, you can specify brewmaster literally as your class.
That's
fantastic.
Very cool.
Yeah, drink with me, friend.
Absolutely. Lewis Watson.
Now
Sounds like an inventor of sorts, right?
He really plugged his Instagram to us as well. Like he was very forceful with his Instagram. I mean, which race would be like really big on Instagram? That'd be an elf.
I think like a dryad,
like a blood elf, or
like a mermaid, a merfolk.
Yeah.
Oh, just chilling at the beach.
Yep.
Next up, we've got Eric Davis. Eric sounds like a dwarf name to me.
Yeah.
Eric Davis. Yeah.
Dwarf.
Yeah, I get that.
If it was spelled with a K, you know.
We've got Billy Toulson next, and I feel he's got to be like a human hunter. He'd be like almost...
If it's Toulson, surely that's an engineer, like an inventor.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be an inventor of sorts.
Oh, see, I was thinking Billy, and I wanted him to be like a hunter, but in like the plains, so basically like a cowboy.
Well, why can't he be
Oh,
both?
I get you.
Can't he be
Yeah,
a cowboy
Ooh,
inventor?
yeah.
cowboy engineer.
A hybrid class.
Perfect.
He's got a mechanical horse.
Yeah, perfect. There you go.
Next up is Elliot Conway.
Conway, he's got to be like a rogue.
Oh yeah, for
right?
sure.
He can be
A halfling rogue.
Yeah, halfling rogue.
Nice.
Elliot, I have no idea how tall you are, but you're a halfling now.
Ben McMurtry. Is he going to be some kind of ent?
It's got to be.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Ent. That'd be awesome.
Cool. So he can be like a druid ent kind of character.
He'd be like an Ent sorcerer.
Next up is David Scahill, and if you want more flavour, I know that he's been studying in Iceland. So in my head, he's a Viking already.
Yes,
he's like a
definitely
Nord.
Viking. Sure.
We have the Moustache Man. What is this guy? So Moustache, I guess
Wizard.
maybe some kind of wizard or a dwarf, because they're quite known for their facial hair, right? What about a half elf mage?
Do elves have facial hair? Is that a thing? I actually don't know this.
I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, if he's a half elf, he may.
Oh,
well
okay,
do.
sure, yeah.
the top half.
Not
The bottom half.
to get pedantic over the point.
Right.
Next up is Habiba Amjad.
You know, he sounds like a real straight shooter, like just your classic swordsman, maybe. We haven't had any just regular human swordsmen. I feel like you gotta get some representation, and I feel like
Habiba, you're boring as f***. You're just a human swordsman, and that's just the role you got.
hey, that's the class I would choose.
And next up, we have, as mentioned earlier, the one, the only hospitalized Dan Hanvey. He's got to be. Could he be like a medic? Or he did engineering, right?
Dan currently has a whole bunch of needles sticking out of him, which I feel like is a very tanky role to have. Like if you've got sharp objects sticking into you from all different directions, you're clearly the group's tank.
True.
That's true. He's taking a lot of damage and he's still moving. So
He's an orc tank.
Yeah, an orc warrior.
We got your back, Dan. Next is Lachlan Woods, another Ent. Surely.
Yeah, got
only
to
Woods,
be.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
We have John Mannion. He's got to be human. Man is in his last name.
Sure.
I was thinking like
Okay.
if he was in a World of Warcraft, he's you know how that's Pillion, isn't it? If you have a second passenger on a motorbike, I was getting it confused with Pillion. I imagined him as like having one of those like steampunk kind of motorbikes that you can get.
Yeah, the Mechnohog, I believe is the name of the mount.
When you said Manion, I was thinking of like minions. So I was thinking of like a goblin or a kobold or something.
Oh, we haven't had any goblins
Yeah.
yet. That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, John's a goblin.
John, you're a goblin.
Congratulations.
Deal with it.
Congratulations, John. We've got Luke Thatcher.
That's like a dead Ent.
Yeah.
Use the thatch.
Luke, you're an Ent, but you've died. Sadly, we're very sorry. Maybe he was raised again by a
Well,
Valkyrie.
maybe he's like a guy who uses like armor that's made of bark. You ever play RuneScape? There's a type of armor called split bark. That's just kind of make me think of that.
Ah,
Okay.
get behind that. We've got
There you go.
Simon Torseth. I'll tread carefully.
I think that's got to be another Nord.
Oh yeah, Torseth for sure. The Skyrim belongs to him after all.
We've got Alex Greer.
Maybe another dragon type. Maybe not a dragonborn, but like a dragon speaker or something.
Like a tiefling.
Yeah.
That's the D&D like dragon people, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm not
Okay.
terribly up
Humans
on my
with
D&D.
demonic ancestry.
Oh, okay.
What's
There you
the Skyrim lizard folk?
go. the Kaji.
Oh, the
No, the
Khajiit.
Kaji are the cat people.
Yeah, that's
the
right.
lizard. Yeah.
Sips did the playthrough, and is it Lie something?
It's Argonian.
I'll go.
yeah.
Why not? Throw that in the mix. We have Geordie Eschendal.
He's got to be a bard.
If it was in the Warhammer fantasy universe, that's like an empire, like a Renaissance Germanic bard.
Yeah. He writes a particularly fine Te Deum in his lore-like backstory. It's a very, very niche reference there to the composer Eric Eschenwald. Moving
for
swiftly
God's
on, we've
sake.
got Matt Maguire. If you didn't spell Maguire Maguire and did it like M apostrophe like Maguire, then it could be like a troll or some kind of
If you squint
that.
at his name and then like close
Right.
one eye, he kind of looks like he could be a centaur.
Let's do Centaur then. There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Jay Wright. But that's a paladin name.
I was gonna say like a paladin or like a politician maybe. Is there
Hmm.
politicians in D&D? I mean, not like politicians, but like
there must be
diplomatic type classes, right?
Yeah, you got.
Yeah, I mean, you can take points in diplomacy.
He's all about being right. Yeah, is that kind of what the bard does, right?
I suppose.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
We've got wonderful Stephen.
Can it be the most horrible character? What's the most evil, like chaotic evil character you can think of?
So, like an imp or something?
Yeah.
Little baby demon.
An imp is perfect. Yeah.
It's like a really ironic name. It's like, don't go in the woods. You've got wonderful Stephen there, and it's like little tiny imp-like thing that transforms you into urinal cakes.
Right. Yes, get that naphthalene in there. Or no, it was ammonium, right? Isn't that what we settled on? What they were made out of? Some sort of ammonium.
Oh yeah, it was something that sounded like it was going to be horrible for you, but apparently it's okay.
Somehow less carcinogenic than naphthalene. So
the next name, I'll just leave this one to you, Patrick. The next name is Tapio Kirkinen.
Tapio Kirkinen.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I'm thinking of like someone who incorporates dance into their fighting technique.
That'd be a rogue, wouldn't it?
Yeah, or WoW it'd be like a monk.
I'm thinking like tap dancing, like someone who dances things into existence, like casts spells with movement.
I guess like some kind of bard,
like an avatar, like last
like an air,
sort of yeah.
Oh, like a shaman maybe. They get quite yeah.
I like that.
We've got Davi Shram Vontobel.
It's a fine imperial name right there.
I feel I'm getting like vampire vibes from that.
Oh, yeah, we haven't had any vampires yet, have we?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I like that.
And then last, but by no means least, we have Simon Vaes. That's Vaes, if you're curious.
Okay.
To me, that sounds like a Draenei in WoW terms, anyway. But
is that a dark elf?
They're a really ancient. No, they're the ones that look like they've got like octopuses on their octopodes, on their faces. They're super ancient and know loads about the light, and they're just very, very wise.
That sounds like.
Did you say octopodes?
That's the technical, isn't it? Octopodes is the
there's several different equally correct ways to say that. I've just never heard someone actually use octopodes or octopodes.
I'd say octopodes.
He's the classic student here. So.
That's cool. Yeah. There you go.
I mean, if in the classics, it definitely wouldn't be octopodes, but yeah, octopodes.
Octopuses.
I think
he's talking about octopuses, guys.
No one's gonna take you seriously.
Cthulhu type.
Octopodes. I was gonna say that.
Wouldn't that be right? Because it's Greek.
That's a fun way to say it for sure. I go with octopi still, but octopodes is definitely a fun way to say it.
There's plenty of still like butchered Greek that we still have in the English language, and we just change it.
Exactly.
It sounds a bit ridiculous.
English, because we're just too lazy to change.
There we go.
This is how it's pronounced.
And that brings an end to our top lads. But we should check in with our Team Cat, Team Dog polls. It's still not looking good. I mean, to be fair, it hasn't been long since our previous episode.
Team Cat has clawed it back a little bit. There are 29 patrons for Team Cat to 36 patrons for Team Dog. So that's all. Yeah. We've made some ground back. Are you a cat person or a dog person, Patrick?
Oh, dog all the way.
Oh,
definitely.
Yeah, good man.
Sorry.
God damn it. Well, if you'd like to prove Patrick to be incorrect, as he is, then do go to patreon.com/the Wikicast. You can pledge $1 a month to Team Cat. There's a button there that says you can pledge to Team Dog, but it doesn't work. Don't use it.
It works very well, actually. We've got 36 people to confirm that it is.
It's full. It's full now. There are no more Team Dog spaces available. There are only Team Cat spaces available. So do put your $1 a month for Team Cat. You pay for our hosting. You pay for our donation to the Wikimedia Foundation. And you pay for us to be able to travel, to make content. And in the near future, possibly paying for editing for stuff for the Spongy and Electric YouTube channel so that Dan and I can make more stuff together. So it really does make a massive difference. Thank you so much to everyone who supports us on Patreon. You make the show possible. Top lad.
Am I going to be able to do an introduction, or are you going to rip the shit out of me for doing it the way that you want?
No, you go ahead, man.
Thanks. Cheers. So we find ourselves in crisis.
What are you doing?
There we go. Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant. We find ourselves in Crisis Corner. This is the segment where our dear readers email in. It's all anonymised, and they may be going through some kind of form of struggle or just kind of are in a bit of a crisis. Hence the name. So we're going to try and see if we can give some helpful advice. So we have an email here from this week. It's from Anonymous. They say, "Dear Simon and Dan, I'm a sixth form student struggling to motivate myself to work over the summer for various things related to applying for medical school. Due to various mental health issues, namely depression and anxiety, which are not exactly helped by my family, who seem to have little understanding of mental health. I was wondering if you lads of the highest order had any advice on how to motivate myself with these issues. I know something similar was asked in episode 30, well logged, but Dan was absent, and I think it's acceptable to ask again. Furthermore, I'm firmly team dog due to being mauled by one as a toddler. Me too."
Wait, why does that make you team dog?
Because I think you learn to you've gone from
you just support.
I've spoken about my phobia of dogs. Like I had a really quite crippling phobia of dogs until I was maybe 15, 16. And then I happened to live in a house for quite a while with another family that had a dog, and since then I've fallen in love with the beast. Anonymous wraps up and says, "Love the podcast. Thanks for the non-content." So, mental health. Advice on motivating themselves through working over the summer, dealing with mental health. It says here that the kind of the family seem to have little understanding of the issues that Anonymous is going through. So, what do we think, everybody?
I mean, Patrick, you're the guest. What do you think?
Yeah,
man, I'm like really unqualified to answer anything about.
Oh no, don't worry. So are we. Like the whole point of this section is that we give advice. We have no fucking clue what we're doing. So
well, I don't know. That sounds dangerous.
Yeah, nobody actually listened to the advice that we're giving here. This is just for us to pontificate and feel good about ourselves. To be honest.
Okay. Well, so they said that they're trying to get into med school and they need to motivate themselves to do that. Okay.
Work over the summer, yeah, for applying to med school. Primarily the UKCAT.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay, so that's like the MCAT, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. One of my friends actually just got into med school and she had to do the MCAT, and man, it was definitely difficult for her.
Yeah, because it's a lot of stuff outside. Because for most subjects, you get the grades, and you might do a little bit outside of the class, but really it's based on what you do in school. Whereas it feels like for medicine, the only way you're ever going to get on is to do a buttload of work off your own back in your own time.
Yep, that's exactly it, and very diverse topics too. It's not just like the MCAT it doesn't quiz you on anything related to medicine. Really, it quizzes you on just prior knowledge about chemistry and math and biology and things like that, which is a lot to learn, no doubt about it.
But I mean, I think you are qualified to answer this though, Patrick, because as someone who you work for yourself, you have to motivate yourself to get up in the morning and work. How do you motivate yourself?
I guess the advice I would give is remind yourself of the stuff that you really love about any of the topics that you have to study, or remind yourself about what you love about medicine or going to med school. Like there's a lot of stuff that I'm sure is going to be really boring and really painful about studying math and studying biology, but there's a lot of interesting stuff too. Being able to, if you have to do like chemistry calculations on the MCAT, being able to do those is genuinely cool. Being able to figure out which chemicals do what and how to like convert or synthesize a given molecule. That's amazing stuff, and it might seem boring to learn, but it is really cool and respectable. So if you can motivate yourself to like appreciate that, it might help a bit. I don't know. So
I mean, basically you're saying is to zero in on not necessarily the application, but just like kind of take a step back and be like, this stuff is really cool. Like re-find what you find interesting about it in the first place.
Yeah. Because like if you just see it as like a means to an end, a really long, arduous task that's going to take you a super long time, and that's a terrible, not a terrible way, but it's like a depressing way to look at a long task. Whereas if you see the journey itself as having some value too, it can be better.
What do you think, Dan? Because you're motivating yourself at the moment to study when I'm guessing it's not really what you want to do right now.
Not really, no. It's it's a lot of it is kind of it's a necessary evil for some of the stuff, especially given when when you're revising for certain specific areas that you don't have those kind of passion points. There's so much to be said for delayed gratification. I think when you really kind of accept it and understand it and realize that it's going to be a bit painful now, but in the long term it's going to be so much better. Like I'm focusing on me walking out of my last exam, and how kind of elated I'll feel and how much more free I'll be, and I can finally actually kind of think it's okay to kind of enjoy my August, because I've been spending so much time just working. I think the recommendation to actually kind of reconnect with what you find really interesting and what you have a passion for, and then using that as a kind of as a way into preparing for this UK CAT thing. I think when you've got things like mental health that can be getting in the way of that, it makes everything so much harder. It's really, I'm really sorry to hear too that they're kind of, from a family perspective, their kind of little understanding probably isn't helping that situation. So I don't know whether steps could be made to maybe try and engage them more in conversation about why you're finding it difficult. And maybe if you say that I'm really interested about applying for med school, and I need to kind of go through this time now, and I need to be working, and I need motivation. Maybe they could provide. They can help you there if you say, I can't do it all by myself because I've got these kind of other issues.
I can imagine the kind of things that your family are probably saying, which is something like, you're not depressed, you don't have anxiety, you just don't want to work. Like people, and it does seem to be kind of a generational thing, don't really seem to understand that mental health is just as much a thing as physical health. And it's, they don't. If your family don't understand, it's important that you understand that other people do. In the community of the podcast. I mean, if you're in the Discord, I'm sure that's a ready-made community of people who get it, who understand that depression and anxiety can be completely crippling, and it's not just I don't feel like working today. It can be something that is completely debilitating. In terms of, I think the advice that's been given so far in terms of, keep your eye on the horizon. If it's not something that you intrinsically find interesting, then kind of delay gratification, but, try and find what you can interesting about it. In terms of the mental health issues, I think an important first step is recognizing that they are legitimate, that it's not just you being weak. It is completely an accepted fact that people can be depressed and can have anxiety, and that does affect your work. And just accepting the fact that that's happening to you and it's a real thing is hugely beneficial in my experience. It's a little bit like, but without the negative connotations, how they say to alcoholics, like the first step to getting better is to realize that you have a problem. And I think in a similar kind of way, if you have depression, if you have anxiety and it's preventing you studying, you're making life worse for yourself if you just say to yourself, oh, my family's right. I'm just a bit sad. I just don't particularly want to do it right now. Recognizing that that's a thing, and then taking the steps and talking to people who do understand, like people, for example, in the Wikicast Discord, or people on this very podcast. We get that it's a problem and it's okay to struggle. What's not okay is just to give up. I think, as someone who's kind of gone through mental health issues relating to studying, it is not okay just to roll over and give up, because there is always hope in these situations. There is always something you can do that is constructive and is good for your, the work that you're doing and for your mental health. You've just got to kind of keep trying, keep digging away. And yes, you're going to have bad days when it does become overwhelming, and it's all that you can do just to kind of read a couple of notes, and not actually do a huge amount. If that's all you can manage, that's okay. But it's just keeping on moving forward and, saying, yeah, I've got this stuff going on. It sucks, but I'm going to try. I'm going to keep working, and yet I am this thing, but I'm not going to let it stop me. I'm not going to let it define me. It's the key thing, which I got from, I was an interview with Archbishop Desmond Tutu, is that there is no situation which you can say there is absolutely, totally devoid of hope. There is always hope in any situation. You've just got to find it, hold on to it, and keep your eye on the horizon, like Dan says.
I think too, just from a general point on motivation, for me, motivation and my kind of productivity has a direct relationship with my surroundings. So if I'm working downstairs in my house and the house is, like the downstairs is a little bit cluttered, or I can see that, I need to hoover, or I need to have a clean or something. I'll do that, and I'll use that. I quite like cleaning and hoovering and a bit of housework. I find it quite cathartic. So I'll do that, and then I'll find them in a better headspace to work, or actually taking myself out of a home environment and going away. And as I say, what I tend to do is kind of lock myself away in the bowels of Exeter University's library, and just having that change of place and going somewhere where you feel that it's conducive to work. Like a public library or somewhere working outside, taking stuff out. And even if it's just reading, certainly for an English and classics degree, like what I'm doing, a lot of it is essay writing, but you can only write good essays when you've read interesting things. So just going away and taking some reading out and doing that. So your environment will have a really strong effect, I think, on your productivity.
Yeah. Well, I hope that was at least somewhat useful, Anonymous. I think, in terms of, you've got two people here who work for themselves and a guy who is forcing himself against his will to spend a lot of time in the library. So hopefully we know what we're talking about when it comes to motivation.
Check out the Discord too.
Definitely.
If you haven't already, certainly from a motivation but also mental health point, if you're to have a little bit more support on that, which probably sounds like it would be a good thing, then yeah, they're an amazing group of people over there.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, Patrick?
Just good luck to you on the MCAT, or the UKCAT, I think is what you said.
Yeah.
Tough test, but I mean it's very doable. So good luck.
Cool. Well, in that case, should we take a slight? It's really a low fence. These corners are very connected, but should we just step over that low fence?
A small hurdle.
It's like a model village, like at the end of Hot Fuzz. You're just going to step over that garden hedge and find ourselves in Correspondence Corner. So we have a couple of emails that have come in, and a few of them are aimed at our guest. So. Prick your ears up, Patrick, because I think this is going to be, you've listened to the show a bit, so you know what to expect from our dear readers, but this should be fun.
Okay.
Anyway,
I hope they're not quizzing me.
Our first email is from George. It's from Hecking Ready George, and he's actually emailed in not text, but he's taken a picture, seemingly of him writing this on the back of a receipt. I don't know if you're looking at this down, but it's quite something.
It is.
Hecking Ready George writes,
lovely script.
Dear Simon and Dan, I haven't emailed in a while, but I hope I made it with the occasional Wikicast meme on Twitter. Yes, the memes have been exquisite recently. The tides of memery have been excellent. I'm not emailing about anything in particular. I just have a bunch of questions. Note, these questions are in no particular order. Oh, okay, here we go. What is your opinion on pandas? Patrick, any opinions on pandas?
Oh, that's a great question. Pandas are they're struggling right now. Not gonna lie, they're not in the greatest position in
the meta, no.
Like in the meta, in the wild. They're definitely struggling.
They are. They have just been upgraded though. Like they're not critically endangered anymore. I think they're just in quotation marks endangered. Like their numbers have been
loving upgraded. I'm thinking of like some weird panda like cyborg,
like Digimon. It's
yeah, or like Deus Ex. Sorry, go on.
Right. Pandas they're one of those species that people want to save just based on virtue of being cute, which I think is kind of the wrong way to look at preserving the ecosystem around us. But at the same time, like if they're the only thing standing between like the Chinese government and cutting down thousands of miles of bamboo forest, then fair enough. I think the resources that have been invested towards trying to get them to breed in captivity is a little bit ridiculous. But overall, like pandas are fascinating and amazing creatures. I would hate to see them go extinct.
But they are ecologically pretty much useless. It's like trying to keep them from going extinct has its benefits, like you say, like trying to stop the Chinese government from completely not giving a shit about the environment. But
Right.
it's not quite the same as conserving species a lot further down the food web. Like I don't have you heard of the charity Durrell?
I haven't. No.
Okay, so they're a charity. I've worked with them before who do conservation of species that are spectacularly unglamorous. So they save species from
That's
extinction.
really important work.
Yeah, they call them little brown jobs. They're just like they're like ducks or frogs or rodents.
I see.
Species that nobody cares about because they're not cute like pandas. But if they were to go extinct, there'd be huge ramifications on,
Yeah.
the ecology.
I know one big keystone species is the mangrove tree, which allegedly is like really gross and damages structures. And also, I think I heard it smells bad too. But it's also like the central hub of life for mangrove forests, of course, which preserve like a massive portion of Earth's biodiversity. So to lose that just because people don't like mangroves would be catastrophic.
Dan, do you have a strong opinion on pandas?
Pretty impartial, to be honest. I don't mind them.
Did they ruin World of Warcraft?
I'd be very sad. Oh, they absolutely did. Jesus Christ, that was such a dark days. I'd hate to see them go. Pandas, not like Pandarin in World of Warcraft. But to be honest, I wouldn't. I don't have a strong opinion of them. I am accepting of pandas.
Now, considering that George didn't know who our guest was when he wrote this email, this next question is astonishingly prescient, because the next question is, do you like ducks but have an irrational hatred of geese, or is that just me? Patrick, what was your last video called?
My last video was called "Are Geese OP?"
Amazing.
So that's hilarious. Nicely done.
I mean, geese do suck. They are the worst.
Geese are so rude. I drove past it was like 3 geese. They were just hanging out by the side of the road. I drove past them, and one of them like stuck its wings up and puffed its chest out and was like, "Come at me, bro!" I'm in my car. I'm like, did you just like challenge my car to a duel? What are you doing?
Yeah.
So geese, they just have so much. They've got guts. I'll give them that.
They're the worst.
Ducks are cute. I like ducks. Geese are so rude. I like geese just on virtue of them just being so gutsy, but they are like, I don't like how much they poop on everything and make it so going to the park becomes traversing a minefield.
It's like a life or death struggle when you're walking past.
Yeah.
It's like that scene in The Birds when you're stepping carefully between and just like hoping the geese don't, decide, oh yeah, that guy, and just attacking you.
I haven't had like any terrible experiences with geese. They've definitely like hissed at me before, but none of them have like dive bombed me or anything.
I've been full on attacked by geese when I was a kid.
Have you?
Yeah,
okay.
Because they properly bite you. They really go for you. If they want to you up, they do.
Definitely.
Like there's a specific place in Exeter as well, Dan, you'll know where I mean, where by the river there's a pathway that's just been taken over. It's like gang territory for geese, and worse than the geese, swans.
Swans are so much worse.
If you want to walk down this bit, it is like taking your life in your own hands, because there's like a 2-foot span of footpath left for you, and if they just decide they're going to bite you, they're going to do it.
See, I may not have an opinion on pandas, but the mentioning of swans there, I do have an opinion on swan, and my opinion is this. I don't know why, but for as long as I can remember, I've always wanted to eat one. Because in the UK, they're like, you can only eat them if only the kind of royalty can eat swans. Which is just ridiculous when you think in the 21st century, what the hell's going on? But I mean, they're majestic creatures. They're beautiful, and they're also just real little shits. So if one did come at me, and I just really want to eat one. Now, if anyone can hook me up with a dead swan, send us an email at spongyelectric@gmail.com.
Have you ever tried goose?
I have had goose, yeah.
Oh, okay, I imagine it's probably pretty similar to that. But did you like that?
Goose is delicious. We usually have goose at Christmas.
No,
yeah.
It's funny you should mention about the queen can only eat swans, because this is a personal favourite fact of mine. This is also on Wikipedia. I'll include a link in the description to this. There's such a thing as royal fish, which when they go on land in the UK, they immediately become property of the monarch. So, for example, there's apparently it dates to Edward II that the king owns the head of any whale that lands in the UK, and the Queen owns the tail.
Wow.
And it's there was here we go. In Scotland, the monarch's property right applies to whales too large to be pulled to land by a wain pulled by 6 oxen. That's the specific terms of the law. That if you can't pull a whale to land with 6 oxen, then it belongs to the monarchy.
Nice. I love some archaic measurements.
God save the Queen. In practice, this is interpreted as requiring the whales to be over 25 feet long, which is much less interesting. But yeah, there you go. It's another thing that only belongs to royalty, along with the blame for the death of Princess Diana. There were some other questions here. Do you regret dabbing in that live stream? Yes, I do, hecking bloody George. Do you ever consider doing a series where you film someone else's journey through a PhD like Brady Haran did? Oh, no, I've already subjected the world to one too many PhD, via vlogs. So,
yeah,
it'd be kind of fun to do it in the style of The Office, where it is like a fly on the wall documentary, but constantly following someone around for 4 years. Sounds like they'd end up killing me. One final question. What's the smallest positive integer that's never been used? Bloody hell, George.
Wait, what?
So basically, positive integers are 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I get that. So but why the
saying,
question?
Come up with a number that no one has
ever
come
used
up with before.
Yeah, I reckon it's a stealthy one, 18. But no one's ever used one of the really low ranked numbers. It's just snuck in under the radar. That's a really interesting question with no way that I can give you an answer to it, George. So thanks.
I mean, 18 is used all the time in legal drinking laws and.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think it's going to be something like. I actually see why this is quite a good question now.
Yeah, put a number to it, Dan.
It's quite thought provoking. I'm going to go with 15. Well, no, because you get 15. You get 50. You get 15 miles an hour signs, don't you?
Yeah, but I think he more means just in any practice. What is a positive integer that's never been used for something?
It's never been spoken ever at all, or even seen.
586,129. I'm just going to Google that. Has anybody used that before? Oh, it's a pin code apparently for somewhere in India.
Just add one and use that.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep adding ones until Google gives me nothing. That's a mobile phone for someone in Texas.
Can we just cheat and do n+1 and say that George can pick n and then leave it?
That's cheating.
Wow, this is actually a really interesting question.
Oh, we can't actually do n+1. n+1 is a New York-based American literary magazine that publishes social criticism.
For sure.
Can't even use that.
Well, there went that.
I'm keeping it on adding 1. I'm down to 9 Google results. None! Okay, right. 586,129,11111. Didn't match any documents. There you go, George. That's an answer.
Brilliant.
That is such an... Hang on, so what is that? That's 911,000. That's 58,612,911,111. No one's ever used that number before, apparently.
That's a number. Brilliant.
Well done, everyone.
We've got an email here from Zaza saying, "Dear you two lovely twats and the mystery third one. I hope you're all having the fantastic day that you each deserve. It's been a while since I've written to Correspondence Corner. Since then, I've been accepted into the Open University. I'm about to start studying history in October."
Hey!
Congratulations.
I was wondering if you could give me any spicy tips for my journey ahead, as I'm very new to the world of university-level study. I'm going from no qualifications to uni-level study for many reasons. I was unable to take any. I've been a homeschooled student for years. I study for fun, so I'm used to studying on my own and in this environment. But if you have any advice for if you have any advice at all for me about university-level study, that would be muchly appreciated. Also, you might remember about a year ago, someone emailed in asking if you could knit Harry Potter Weasley jumpers for you two and then never knitted them. That person was me, and I'd like to apologise because at the time I was broke as f*** and massively underestimated the price of wool. Well, it's a year later. I'm still broke as f***, but I've acquired some wool with which to knit a jumper for Dan. If Dan could please remind me of his chest measurements, well, hey, I can get cracking and it'll be done and send it away by Christmas. That would be amazing.
It's a triple A cup, and you're a 26 chest?
I'm a twat. Well,
You've got probably... a pigeon boy chest.
I'm not a 26. I'll check my jumper and I'll check the measurements and I'll send them your way, Zaza. Simon, if you remind me of your chest measurements too, I should be able to get yours done by Christmas as well. Forehead size down from Dan's forehead.
Oh, it's Dan's forehead. Oh,
yeah.
Right, so Patrick, they've heard studying advice from us till the cows come home. What's your advice for someone who's going to go off to university and, this is obviously a completely different level of study from what they've experienced before?
Okay, yeah. My favorite tip to give people is to get with a group of friends that are good students. I'm sure that person has friends who are not the greatest students. It's okay to have those friends too, but definitely get your core group of smart friends. And what you should do to study for exams is make practice tests for each other and then grade them for each other. That is my number one. It got me through so many classes, and it worked extremely well. The amount of times that I've gone to an exam and laughed because I predicted what was going to be on the exam and had already written that question and the answer to it.
Oh, that's such a good strat. I'd never thought of that before. And obviously, you can do that. It doesn't even have to be people that you're physically IRL with. You could do it via
Exactly, yeah.
Discord
you can send tests to each other, yeah.
Oh, that's such a good tip. I can't come up with anything that holds a candle to that. Keep a diary. If you want to do spaced repetition, that is, in my experience, the best way is to keep stuff fresh in your mind. I've got a video about how to study effectively. I'll link that in the show notes. Yeah, Dan?
I guess, well, it's very dependent on, I suppose history in many ways is similar to doing a degree in English and classics, and that you'll probably find yourself doing a tremendous amount of reading. So just remembering to not only read because you have to, but read because you want to. So let that dictate either what you're reading as a break or something for fun on an evening, or also when you're looking through various different scholarship, if you see a title that jumps out at you that you might at first think, oh, this could be a little bit too far left or right to actually be kind of bear any relevance on what I should be reading about, give it a chance, because you're more likely to find a interesting connection and then probably write a better essay.
I mean, I'm still reeling from Patrick's advice. I mean, you should do a studying channel, Patrick. Not me. I feel like
I can recommend a studying channel. Look up the channel Tibees. It's Tibees. She has a great channel about studying and how to.
And
how
of
to study
course,
in university.
we'd be remiss to not mention Thomas Frank's channel, College Info Geek.
Yes, College Info Geek is also really good.
Really, really good.
And also Tom's recommendations for a couple of episodes ago. The post-it notes.
Yeah,
which
when you need to read a chapter, just put a post-it note, and you're not allowed to take it off your desk until you've read a chapter. That was another one.
Mm-hmm.
But best of luck. I've got so much respect for people that do through the Open University. For Patrick, for your benefit, that's uni by correspondence, so people can do it part-time.
Oh, I see.
And it's,
okay.
It's for adult learners, and it's super, super hard, and people do graduate all the time. I'm not trying to put forehead off, but I have so much respect for people that do it that way, because it can be so isolating. But hats off, forehead. I know you've got it in you.
Yeah, best of luck.
And then lastly, we have an email from the one, the only Dan Hanvey, written from his very nice ensuite room in the Bristol Royal Infirmary, which I visited, and he was wearing his To Do Calculate shirt, which was a nice touch, Dan. He writes, "Musings of a medicated madman. No idea if this will make it in time, but good day, sirs assembled. I am led to understand that you have a fine guest joining you in today's perambulation through the backwaters of Wikipedia. Since I'm currently in a medical mindset, I thought I would turn my thoughts to the future of the human species. The scenario. We've developed DNA augmentation techniques to the level where we can grow or graft on appendages and abilities from animals. What animal capability would you graft onto yourself, and why? Flying would seem the obvious choice, but good luck getting shirts that would fit your massive wings. Great to see you the other day, Simon. Likewise. And Dan, I hope to see you again soon. Your wheezy pal, Dan V."
Oh, love you, Dan.
Wow.
Well, we'll see. We'll try and see you soon. As soon as if I've got some free time post exams, I'll come up and say hello.
Well, I mean, this is a tailor-made question for you, Patrick. If you could graft on appendages...
That is such an incredible question. Excellent job. Okay, not gonna lie, the first thing I thought of was definitely wings. I don't think you're considering all the options when it comes to wings, though. It would be difficult to fit bird wings under a shirt. But insect wings are much more foldable, and I think that could work much better.
That's
and
really
also,
cool. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
I think insect wings are better at what they do anyway. They evolved much earlier and have had a lot more time to be refined by the process of natural selection.
Now
there was an article I was reading about the physics and makeup of insect wings and how they fold up to occupy such little amount of space, because they were using that same design pattern for huge solar powered like canvases to use up in space.
Oh, that's
and they use that
fascinating.
same
Wow.
like a what's the word I'm looking for? It's like origami. The way of folding, they fold up in such a unique, specific way that they actually don't require much physical effort on the part of the insect to fold up. They almost naturally want to return to the state due to the tension held within the wing for the certain folds. It's really interesting.
I mean, the problem with flying generally, with any wings, is that you're effectively, biologically, they'd be replacing. If you want them to actually work and fly, you'd have to replace your arms with the wings, because otherwise, where is the muscle coming from that's moving?
That's a super important question in terms of the evolution of insects, because that's not what happened with insects, right? The wings didn't replace any of their appendages.
But I thought dragonflies had like 4 legs rather than 6 because they had wings instead of that extra set of legs.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Hang on, I'm going to Google. Oh, yeah, there's pictures with some 6 legs. Wow, I just had that wrong my whole life. There you go.
The 3 main theories on the origins of insect flight are that wings
there's 3
developed
competing
from
theories, which is super interesting.
Paranotal lobes, extensions of the thoracic tergia, and that they are modifications of movable abdominal gills, or that they developed from thoracic protrusions used as radiators.
Dan, you realise that you're actuallying the guy with a degree in microbiology. He was like,
I was just trying to find the 3 theories.
There are 3 main theories.
No, I've had to study those theories. I took entomology class in college, and we had to study out each of those theories and which ones hold up to which types of scrutiny.
Right.
Which is really fascinating stuff. I love the subject.
So presumably with insect flight, it's not, because I mean, I know from doing this video, for example, that birds and bats, the musculature which powers the wings is the pectoral muscle, and it's like up to 40% of the body mass of bats, for example. Like, it's a huge part of their body. But how does insect flight work then in terms of the actual mechanics?
Yeah, that is a complicated question.
Oh, sorry.
And the evolution of that is, again, subject to debate. But how it works, I'm still fuzzy on the details. It's been a while since I took entomology. I think, I'm not even going to try to guess.
But it's like, because insects don't move. It's almost like a form of hydraulics, right? It's they're pumping a fluid like a hydraulic system instead of having muscle tendons. I think.
I do think it's actually muscle. The hydraulics is very much the case with their legs.
Yeah.
But it's musculature that's attached to the inside of their exoskeleton that flexes the wings.
Yeah, it says here that
the points of attachment is the interesting part, and I'm forgetting the details about it. But I think I remember learning about it. Like, it bends the exoskeleton itself, and just like the shape of the exoskeleton changing flexes the wings just because physics. I forget.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a fun entomology aside for you guys. As for other things that I would add, that I would want to incorporate onto the human physique, gills, if it was practical, gills would be a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Although, like, cleaning gills is difficult when, like, if you're leaving the water, then they're going to dry out, and that'll be a problem. One that I would love that's more practical, and I think they've actually tried to make this, would be gecko fingertips to be able to scale... to be Spider-Man and whatnot.
Because that works by it's the Van der Waals force, isn't it? It's purely the fact that you have a large surface area and a large number of atoms close to other atoms in the surface that you're sticking to. Because the power law of the Van der Waals force falls off as the distance to the 7th power. So if you can get close, like geckos can, the nature of their skin means that they can put lots and lots of atoms in very close contact with the wall, then it's close enough that even though the force is normally weak further away, that seventh power means that when you get close, it suddenly gets really powerful. But I don't know. How did they propose to do it with humans then? Is that like a metamaterials problem?
Well, I think the material that the gecko's fingers are made out of is basically like really, really tiny hairs, and that's how they get so many atoms up in contact with the surface. And so, in theory, if you got enough of that, and we're able to create that same material, it could work.
Obviously, we've got a lot more. That's when you get the power law problem of, R to the 3 versus R to the 2. A lot more weight to hold up. Oh, exactly. I'll have to look into that afterwards. That's really cool. Dan, what about you? What attributes or appendages would you want to crib from animals?
I immediately just thought of an owl as an animal, not only for the wings, but their ability to kind of rotate their head almost for full 360, and that their eyes are like telescopic. Right?
Yeah, binocular vision.
That'd be kind of cool.
God, I mean, it's almost like when you go into a sweet shop and you're overwhelmed with choice. There's so many dope things that animals can do. I genuinely couldn't. I'm really struggling to pick a single thing because there are so many awesome things that you could have. Like, God, I don't know.
One more I could think of would be the ability to change color, similar to a cuttlefish or other cephalopod. Because that stuff is just amazing. It's incredible.
Also, the wolves, specifically wolves, I think are kind of best at this, but I think it does carry across most kind of like canine species. The enzymes that live in their saliva allow them to heal super quickly. So if they scratch or graze themselves, the reason they lick their wounds is because it massively accelerates the healing process. It's antibiotic and
Apparently, a group which is super, like the way it was described to me was Wolverine-like in how quickly it heals. Are giant bats. They because there was so as part of this video, I interviewed this guy at Durrell, actually, the conservation charity, who works with these they're Livingston fruit bats. So they have a wingspan of about 1.5 meters. They're these huge things, and they get tears in their wings because they fight with each other. They're social animals, so they squabble, and they have hooks on their wings which they use as weapons. And you get these tears forming in the wings. And they can fly with the tears in them, but what they've noticed is that they heal incredibly quickly. Like, a matter of days, you can get these big kind of tears that have been sealed up. Like, the fact that this guy, who was a proper researcher in the field, worked with them for years, was like, yeah, it's basically like Wolverine. Like, it's the only way that we can think to describe it.
That's amazing. Wow.
Bats are hilarious too. We used to get so many of those in Australia. They just crash into trees to land. It never gets a hold. You just feel a quiet night. You hear like the crickets going and the cicadas, and then you just hear like a massive like bang, and it's like, oh, that's a bat landing. It just doesn't know what it's doing. They're so great.
I love them. I think they're really cute. I'll leave a link in the show notes to a picture of a Livingston fruit bat because they are like teddy bears with wings. I think they're adorable. But I did think of an ability, Dan V, which is I'd want to have the ability that the horned lizard has, where you can shoot blood from your eyes.
Oh, gross!
It's just like because it's like a defense mechanism. It's like, oh, this meeting's not going very well. Whilst the people are confused, then you can just leg it. Like,
there's got to be better ways to clear a room. Even in the animal kingdom, you could go with the skunk ability or something.
I was just thinking skunk, yeah. But like, this is more of a direct, like, kind of fuck you. If you could just squirt blood at someone, it's like a version of Superman's laser vision, just
right,
shooting red blood at people. But there we go, Dan V. I hope that has sufficiently answered your question.
Yeah, put your mind at rest.
Yeah, I mean, good luck sleeping with that vision in your head. Me walking into your hospital room.
Good luck sleeping in general. The number of needles you've got in you, I imagine it's a bit of a struggle.
He's got, actually, bless him, when I visited him, he has a chart that he's been keeping of the number of needles that's been stuck in him. There were 7 by the time that I visited. But I imagine it's significantly more by the time this podcast comes out.
He's a hero, that's for sure.
Well, I think that's probably a wrap for the podcast. So, Patrick, what have we learned today? What article did we have in the first place?
We had the Miocene geological time period.
You did.
Yeah. So
we learned that this was the era in which humans and chimpanzees speciated, which is interesting.
And then after we very briefly talked about it, we talked about how you make your videos, and and Smash Bros, and like how you got into biology and into gaming.
Your penchant for PowerPoint.
Yes, blown
Yes,
Dan's
correct.
mind with that.
Yep. And there was some urinal cake talk in there somewhere.
Oh yes,
Um,
that's going to be clipped somewhere and put.
be remiss if we didn't mention that.
And then we talked about my excellent recommendations for Netflix, which went unappreciated by Dan.
Just because they're recommendations.
And then
I spoke about the two films, Shape of Water and Three Billboards Outside of Missouri.
Yep.
Absolutely go and catch those if you can. Shape of Water especially, I thought was really, really very fine indeed.
Mm-hmm. And then Patrick, you were talking about your TV preferences recently.
Yes, the Better Call Saul has been my go-to recently for the past week and a half.
And then for once, we had a crisis corner that we actually could answer because we actually knew what we were talking about. And
to a degree.
Hopefully we were helpful.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And
then we had some pretty good. We only had time for a couple of emails, but I think there were some pretty strong ones this week. So thank you to everyone who emailed in. You can send correspondence to spongyelectric@gmail.com. Actually, should we do the outro and then they can hear that properly? That's all for this week's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to us on your podcasting service of choice. You can like us on Facebook, and if you'd like to see our faces and now some new shitty gameplay videos, check out our YouTube channel, Spongy and Electric.
Netflix recommendations, animal grafting ideas, and other thoughts on the show can be sent to us at spongyelectric@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much for joining us again, Patrick.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. Yeah, so if anyone wants to watch any of my videos, if you're interested in learning about zoology through the lens of video games, you can find my stuff on YouTube if you just search TierZoo or go to youtube.com/TierZoo, I think. You can also find me on Twitter. It's at the TierZoo. I'm pretty responsive on there. And also on Reddit. I have a subreddit. It's just r/TierZoo. So yeah, come check it out. Thanks for having me.
It was honestly our pleasure. And that means that
really lovely.
We have one final line that we'd like you to say, which is...
Join us again for another tumble down the wiki rabbit hole.
And we'll see you next time.
Something that I neglected to mention is that prior to recording the podcast, I normally like to drink something caffeinated just to wake me up a bit. But we're out of Diet Coke, so I just necked a bunch of pre-workout before this recording session, and I'm really feeling it at the moment. Not gonna lie.
Jesus.
My heart rate is very high.